Welcome back, tasties and tastettes, to another episode of FTWGT Weekly. It's your boy Lenny, joined again, as always, by friend, confidant, producer, sex symbol, calendar model, hand model, foot job artist, Dante. What is up?
I don't know if I can take credit for like half of those, but yeah, what's up, dude?
We got a big episode for you all this week. We are chocked full of movie reviews.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I will not be boring you with any stories of computer trials and tribulations. Those are behind us. No car issues this week to speak of.
So we
And to be
good.
honest, uh, I have little like things that I could talk about, but I don't want to burn 15 minutes on nothing this week because we got a lot to get into. Uh, we have seen a lot of movies this week, so
The battle
with
is
no
on.
yeah, we'll get to that. I'm going to save that part of the conversation for the taste test, I think, because we at least saw three movies together, and then we each have one to add, I believe. So
Yeah.
uh, this is going to be mostly a movie review podcast. So if you have seen some stuff this week, stick around. If you haven't, time codes down below as always. If you don't want to be spoiled, we'll probably do a little bit of non-spoiler, do a little bit of spoiler, and we'll let you know where it's ranked, where it fell, and whether or not you should watch it. So do you want to go in chronological order of how we saw these, Dante?
Yeah, I think that makes the most
Wait,
sense.
you want to go back to Thursday?
Yeah.
Go back in time real quick. Okay, so we had two movies come out this week, and then we actually got a early preview or early screening of another one. The movie we saw next Thursday, last Thursday, is one I've been looking forward to. It's like right up my alley as far as the type of movies, like a genre of movie I really enjoy. Kind of dark horror, dark comedy horror movie.
Yeah.
I think it can kind of fall under that a little bit, right? And yeah, so we saw Abigail,
Abby
the the vampire ballerina who fakes being a little girl to get kidnapped.
sounds ridiculous when you put it that way.
I mean, it is kind of ridiculous in general.
Yeah.
Um, so you have a cast of of criminals, or like pseudo criminals, who are looking to make money for one reason or another,
No, they
and
are
you
criminals. What do you mean pseudo criminal?
well,
No, they are criminals. They all
they
committed an
become
act of
criminals.
kidnapping.
They became criminals. What I mean is, prior to committing this act, I don't know that they are all considered criminals yet.
Most of them were criminals in some sense.
Yeah, like they were involved in bad shit.
Well,
But like I don't know the legality of their actions. I wasn't, who am I to judge? We all have shit in our closet, dude.
sure.
So it's tough to talk about this one so much without spoiling it. I just think for the abridged version of my thoughts on it. Generally, when I go into this kind of a movie, I base it on a couple things. How good are the kills? I think are an important aspect of it. How funny are like the bits in it, because I think it's a movie that relies on two things generally. It is kills and it is comedy, right? Like I don't think it's a true horror movie in the sense that it's looking to scare you so much as it's meant to be more like blood and gore mixed with some violence, more so, right?
Yeah.
Um and so let's look at those two things. On the violence side, on the gore, on the kills, where'd this land for you?
It's probably somewhere in the middle. I don't think the kills were ever anything too egregious. Uh, I mean, I guess there were some that were kind of crazy, but I'm
Yeah,
still
I
trying to
think
stay on the non-spoilery side of things, so I don't want to give like specifics. But
yeah, I think a gripe I would have is in the beginning of the movie where they're still trying to be a little bit more secretive about the plot, and let things unfold. You don't see some of the initial kills so much, and I kind of always hate when like these types of movies, when horror movies in general, and it's more of a trope of like a PG-13 horror movie, I think, um, that you don't like when people get killed, like just by getting like, pulled into a dark corner or something like that.
you don't
I'm
get to
very much
actually see the act.
Yeah, like I'm very much of the mind that I'm here to see that shit. So like I want to see it and it kind of softens it a little bit when you don't see that. So I thought initially the first 20, 30 minutes were a little light in that regard. And it's a relatively brief movie, right? It's only about an hour and 40 minutes, I feel like.
Something like that, yeah.
So, it's not a huge gripe with it, but it is something where I was like, I hope initially my thought thinking when I was watching it was like, I hope all the kills aren't like this, because then it's a huge miss. And I was pleasantly surprised, I think, in the back half of the movie that they really upped the gore level. And to be fair to them, I guess, like it's a relatively like robust cast. Like you have initially what, like 8 people that they that are like the kidnappers.
I think it was 6.
6. Um, oh, funny fact. The lead like kidnapper guy,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the one I'm talking about? He's also the guy from Godzilla Kong.
Who was he in that?
The veterinarian.
Oh, shit.
I saw
Looks
a thing
different
about
without
him
the long
talking
hair.
about that. Yeah, he said he actually had a quote that he was like, "I think it's really cool that you can walk out of one film and go into another one right now and see me in it, and you can see me as 2 completely different people, and it's almost unrecognizable that I'm the same person." And I was like,
Definitely
"Holy
was
shit, he's right," because
unrecognizable, yeah.
I never connected the fact that those are the same people. Because he's like very lighthearted and fun in Godzilla or Kong. I don't, whatever you fall under, whoever your fandom is, whichever clique you ride with. In
Kong
this
gang.
movie, however, your Kong gang,
Oh, yeah.
I'm that Zilla squad, dude. Uh so in this movie, he's far more of a dickhead.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like I thought so you've got him, you got sniper dude, computer girl, druggy driver, um, nurse lady,
And
and
RIP.
muscles. Yeah.
Oh, shit, so 7. Oh, wait. No, yeah, I miscounted.
Okay, yeah. So muscles. You were right. You were initially right. You didn't miscount. You miscounted yourself afterwards.
Yeah.
Um Okay, so yeah, 6. But I think that like once you get down to more of a core group, you get rid of a couple of the exterior characters. Like they got the kills, I think, got a bit better. But the first couple just were a little underwhelming. And so like the next part of it is the comedy, right? And I think to get into that, we have to talk more about the characters. So how did you feel about the group of characters that we got here of all those like 6 people that I just named?
I mean, they gave you a good span of personalities that all kind of played off each other really well, and the one thing I would say is I kinda wish we didn't kill so many of them off in the beginning so we could see a little bit more of that cross interaction.
I think there's like specific characters that I would have enjoyed seeing live longer. I assume you're talking like we'll hold it until because like I know you had one that you're more partial to than the others, I feel like.
Well, yeah, no,
Um
but that's not even what I'm talking about. I was actually referring more to, like, Sniper Gang.
well now you're just spoiling things.
Am I?
Well, I mean, you just said like, oh, like I wish they didn't kill him so early. And then like I was like, well, let's not spoil him right now. And you were like, well, let me talk about this one specific guy.
Do we bleep that part? I don't know.
No,
Whatever.
I mean you can leave it.
You're
Sorry
watching
if
this,
I
you're expecting spoilers, come on.
no, I said we weren't gonna spoil it and then we'd let them know when we were gonna spoil it.
Ah, well, sorry.
um,
The no
so
spoilers part is the part I'm always not good at.
yeah, I thought that like the group scene initially with like the 6 of them was pretty good. I think it's the like that whole thing of like let me predict like what everybody's real like life shit is a little cheesy personally.
Yeah.
Um, but I got it in the sense that you weren't gonna have a lot of scenes with all of them kind of in a room together, and it let you. It was essentially like the director giving you background to the characters without actually having to like waste time with them giving themselves background, you know?
Yeah.
Which I don't always love when like you do that. Like, but in the sense of like this movie shouldn't be 2 hours and something long. You don't have the time to give each character their own time to like reflect what kind of people they are.
And to be fair, I don't really think you needed that much background, and you got a good amount of it later on, anyways.
From the characters that matter, I think that you got enough, right?
Yeah,
Like you definitely got enough out of them. I mostly enjoyed all the casting. Like I thought they all played their roles well. I thought like Catherine Newton seems to be like a standout to me. I think it's Catherine. I know it's Newton.
yeah, Catherine Newton.
Yeah. Uh, like she seems to be a standout right now for me. Yeah. So Catherine Newton, I think, is a person who, for me right now, like whenever she's in something, she's going to be one of those actresses I'm kind of keeping an eye on because I think she's been a lot of fun between Lisa Frankenstein, this, and even Ant Man for that matter. I think she's been fun across most of these roles. She's also been in like other stuff back in the like not back in the day 'cause she's not like old or anything, but what's the one on Amazon like the maps for all the like
Oh,
places or something?
Tiny Mac of Little Perfect Things or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, like, I really enjoyed that movie, and she's in that. So, she's somebody who just kinda stands out to me right now as somebody I'm gonna like I'm generally a person, if I like you as an actress, I'll see most of the stuff you come out with, so I'm gonna be keeping an eye on her. I thought she did really well, and for that matter, like, Melissa Barrera proves again that, like, she is one of the current, like, queens of this genre. Between the Scream franchise and this, like, she's found a nice little niche for herself in, like, this leading lady, um scream queen role, and I think she did very well. And to boot, we haven't talked about it yet, but the girl who plays Abigail is fantastic.
Yeah,
Um, in it,
yeah,
like she's just great. And like it's like the ballerina scenes are just as haunting as like the kill scenes are. You
yeah.
know, like in
No,
between,
she definitely has a presence when she's on the screen, and like she acted that role very well.
yeah, like in between kills, just like out there dancing and like dancing with dead bodies and like shit like that. It was just she was a very fun character, and the ability to switch up like she plays like wears a lot of hats, I guess, so to speak, in this movie.
Where she
You
plays
know,
the sweet little girl, then does the whole
yeah,
"Ha,
yeah. Which you
gotcha."
get that in like the trailer too,
Yeah,
when you kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
figure out like what this is, right? Like, but yeah, like she can play like the human girl who's like scared very well, and then like she plays like the murderous vampire child very, very well. So yeah, I appreciated it. Before we get into spoilers, I guess like would you say it's a movie people should go out and see? And do you have box office? I think I know how it performed. I think it did like 12 or 15 million. Excuse me.
To date, it's at 15, with an opening weekend of 10. Budget is 28 mil, so it's a little behind right now.
You said it's at 15 now.
15, yeah, and budget was 28.
I'm trying to think if we have any other. I mean, like, I think the one benefit you always have with a movie like this is like there's probably not much to compete with in this genre. There is like several horror movies out right now, but they're not like they're more like creepy religious horror movie than they are this kind of horror movie.
Yeah,
So I think there's a place where this kind of plays, and maybe it doesn't. I think it's probably going to break even, and then it's going to come down to how successful it is on streaming once it gets there. But I imagine it's only going to make probably about 30 million if it's only at 10 or 15 now.
this is a movie I imagine would do pretty well on streaming, though.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was good that it came to the theater first. Um, I think it's good pretty much when anything does at this point, like just to give it a shot. But it's not and I don't think you make these types of movies. That's why you keep it at a $28 million budget, like with the expectation of it blowing up. Like if you get a hit out of it, you get a hit. But I think you're really looking at the expectation of like, does this break even? I do wonder, before we get into spoilers, if like, the Melissa Barrera stuff impacted it at all. I tend to think it doesn't like her controversies. I don't know if you saw like almost like there was like six or seven the people from the Scream franchise that showed up to the premiere of this movie in support of her.
Oh, shit.
Nev Campbell and Courtney Arquette were not there.
Mm.
Neither was Jenny Ortega, to be fair. But it was like Dylan Minnette, which was one who dies in five. Yeah, dies in five. You had Jamie Kennedy showed up.
Mm.
Some of the OGs showed up. But yeah, it was like five or six of them. who all showed up for the premiere of this just to show support to her, which was pretty cool. I guess my only like takeaway from it is like I felt like it was really knee jerk at the time for the Scream franchise to just cut ties with her completely. Um, and I feel like based on the way things have kind of played out, they might not have her in this movie, and all of a sudden it's going to be up to her whether or not she can forgive and forget and like whatever. But I feel like there's going to be a place for her to come back to that franchise, and I where there's not even like anything formally done yet. I think you're in a world where they might just end up they could still use her still, you know.
Yeah,
I that's what I don't like about the. This is a broader conversation, but it is that cancel culture thing where everything is so like knee jerk now. Like it's like you kind of have to let things play out a little bit to like
it's all
decide where but before you just decide major decisions like this and now you look like an asshole like if you want to back it like change your mind on it.
it's all politics, you know, like with anything else.
Yeah, and I don't remember the exact quotes, but I don't like the thing is it is all politics and that's the problem because like I think her general sentiment was like all lives should matter in
Yeah,
that like we should stand with like we should definitely stand with the right side, but like it doesn't diminish the fact that lives are being lost on both sides, you know, and that's a problem. Is that a
yeah,
that's probably controversial? Who knows?
yeah. I was gonna
Uh,
say we're not a political podcast. We're not
and
gonna
I'm
go
not
into that.
educated to any of it because I don't even
Yeah,
know the right side to be on. I don't like I don't live my life in that world.
yeah.
Um, so spoilers. The I think the oh yeah 3, 2, 1 spoiler. There you go. Just give you guys all time to hit the time codes down below. I think the kills really start to pick up once we get rid of like you had mentioned, like so you lose your guy August or
Angus.
Angus, sorry, pretty early. Um, which I think he was a large part of like the comedic aspect of the movie. And once
Yeah,
he wasn't there, I guess it was him, Catherine Newton, and then the like the muscles guy were like kind of your comic relief to this movie a bit. Um, and some of it was Abigail, I suppose, but
yeah,
I feel like once he was gone, you kind of moved more into less of the comedy tone of this movie, and he was one of the ones you don't really see the way he died. So if you get a scene after that with like him being beheaded, but you don't see that happen.
yeah.
It's kind of he just gets pulled into a dark corner, and then the other part of it was the sniper, which is that was the weirdest one to me because it's like you kind of set up this angle that like him and Melissa Barrera's character were going to be kind of
Teamed up.
going through this together, that they had
Yeah.
their each other's backs, and then immediately after that conversation, he's dead. And I don't know if I like or dislike that choice. You know, because I think it would have been interesting. Would you have thought it was a better idea to kill off the muscle guy?
No. I think he brought a good amount of comedic value to the rest of the movie where I liked keeping him around. Um, but I guess the cop was a little too important to like keep to kill off too.
You definitely couldn't kill him off. I think the only expendable character was the exchanging out the muscle guy for him. And I think the weird thing is this, right? Like you have this conversation about like how about we watch each other's backs in here, and then he dies immediately. And essentially, you get that storyline between Catherine Newton and the muscle guy because he seems to take like a protective nature over her to a
Yeah.
point. It feels like through most of the movie, and it's almost like, well, why wouldn't you just establish that character, like establish that type of thing with those characters to a
Forehand
point,
instead, yeah.
you know, because it almost played out like that was what they did for each other. Um, and I think then if you had played that out a little bit more, when inevitably, you know, Catherine Newton gets turned, I think it makes it more impactful when she kills. Like, because you have to, the way it
Uh,
plays out, you interpret that he's being protective over, and it's supposed to be like hurtful that like, damn, like she's killing him now, and like he was protective over her, and he doesn't like want to hurt her.
and they didn't even
But
tug at those heartstrings, yeah.
yeah, I think if it was more of a spoken thing, like that would have made that scene maybe more impactful. And I did like it. I liked her change. I thought that was what made Catherine Newton's performance good. Is like going from like she was pretty strong throughout the movie, but then having to basically play a completely different character, both her and the little girl who play Abigail, like having to basically act through each other, I thought was like pretty cool, and I thought it was done really well, and made it enjoyable.
Yeah.
The Did you like the plot point of like why they all ended up in that house? Because I think watching the trailer, that was the hardest thing to understand.
Is
Is
why they
like,
were there.
yeah, yeah, you know that they had kidnapped somebody, but why are they all of a sudden trapped in there? You know?
I guess I didn't hate the plot point. It explains enough to allow the movie to do what it does without going too in depth, and I'm okay with it. Like, I don't think this movie was ever supposed to be like heavily centered around the plot. It was mostly just the suspense around them being hunted.
I thought it was another scene of like it's called like plot exposition was what I was looking for earlier, right? So it's kind of the same thing that they had done earlier with the idea of like, hey, let me predict what each one of your characters' backgrounds are, so that the audience knows what kind of characters we are. And then it was more plot exposition for Abigail to explain why they were all there. And it's like, so instead of giving them like, you could already kind of sense who was good versus who was more bad out of those groups, who was more innocent versus not.
Yeah.
But it was just another way for them to expedite that process and be like, hey, this is like the crux of why you're all here without any of you having to explain it yourself. Like let's have a 5 minute word dump to like
And that's where I was
tell
saying
you.
earlier, like, we got a lot more of the background development, and I think that gave us really everything we would have needed out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I I thought the strongest performances were definitely Abigail, Melissa Barrera, Catherine Newton, and like the right four people, I think, because the cop I thought also was extremely unlikable, like in a good way. Like
yeah,
you wanted to see him get his comeuppance, like you didn't want to see him succeed, and I think they did a good enough job too of teasing this idea that he might turn a corner
yeah,
and have his moment where he was a good guy, most of it was going to be for self preservation, but I thought they did a good enough job of teasing those ideas of him maybe changing his ways to inevitably just succumb to our like to being what he always was, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, because they tell you like he basically chose himself over his own family. Like so he was never gonna choose to save anybody else there to not save himself.
well,
And
they
when
already
given
kinda gave you that earlier on when they talked about, like, the son that he never went back for or
well,
whatever.
that's what I mean. Like that's what I'm saying. Like they had told you he he is an asshole. Like he is
Yeah,
a bad guy. And that like any hints that he was gonna make the right decision, you shouldn't follow them because he is not a good guy, you know? Uh the What do you think of like the team up? So we get towards the end of the movie
uh,
and um Abigail has wreaked havoc on them, but you have like a kind of a cohesiveness between Melissa Barrera's character and Abigail to a point where she's not like Abigail's not taking it easy on her by any means.
yeah,
Um, but it does feel a bit like, hey, like uh there can be a semblance of them like like resolving their issues in under the right circumstances. Because
that
her only issue was with her was like her issue was like the least offensive of any of them. It's like one of the characters is stolen from my father, and I guess we didn't explain this, but like you have the Abigail's father's like a mob boss, right? Like essentially, like he runs the entirety of the city. Like crime goes through him, and she's essentially his hitman, and she's searching for her father's affection because he's become bored with her. And to search for his affection, she basically gets these people to she collects these people who've done her father wrong and kills them all and does it to try and impress her father
yeah,
with how good of like a soldier she essentially is for him. And her reasons for each one of them, it's like you stole from me, you snitched on me, you were a dirty cop. And then it's like Melissa Barrera's thing is more like you were on drugs and didn't save somebody.
yeah.
So like she was really more hurting herself than she like. I mean, yes, she led to somebody not living, so that sucks. But like she didn't do anything intentionally towards your family, where
Yeah, exactly.
the other people all had very intentional reasons for what they were doing. Did we ever find out what Angus had done? Did they tell us that one?
No, because
I wonder what he
he
did.
wasn't in the room for that whole breakdown.
Yeah, I
They
wonder what him and
To
the
be fair,
military
they did
guy
yeah,
did.
I was gonna say they didn't talk about what the sniper guy did either.
Yeah, like I wonder what their backstories were because like uh, Angus there, like you feel like he probably just like stole drugs or something. Like like what was he probably up to? And then military guy seemed like pretty straight and narrow.
Yeah, it might have been, like, someone he killed or something. He was probably, like, a contract killer or something like that.
Yeah, fair, fair. Um, but yeah, hers was the least offensive, and I feel like it was the most forgivable of all of them. So you lead up to the big like moment at the end where um the bad cop ends up deciding to get turned, and he kind of turns into your pseudo big bad for the movie.
Yeah,
And it becomes more of Abigail, and like Abigail is more on the side of like, I need help. Like I'm now getting
yeah.
my ass kicked, and like nobody's gonna get out of here because this guy's gonna kill both of us. So you get this like team up at the end that I think overall, like the thing that we talked about, like the kills, I think escalate, and what helps them escalate is the gore. I think goes like times 10 in the last like 30 to 40 minutes with like people exploding and like I like when the sun hits them. It's not like some vampire movies, it's like they start to like burn up and shit like this. And it's like
Yeah.
this. It's just the sunlight hits them and they just fucking explode into like
There
a
was no
bloody pile.
gradual effect to it. It
Yeah.
was just spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, they just go up and fucking they had a stick of dynamite inside their body.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. I liked that probably the most of any of the kill aspects of the movie. I also like the viciousness of Abigail, like just jumping on people's fucking like
Yeah.
throats and like just ripping and clawing at them. I liked all of that a lot too. So I liked once we started getting the kills, the viciousness of it. But I think a lot of the brutality picks up when you have two vampires in the room that can just like toss each other around and like he like spikes her on her neck, which I really liked.
Yeah. I don't know where Melissa Barrera's character fit into that whole, like, final fight scene, really.
I think she was
There was a team up, right? But it was just like, she didn't really do anything until the very end.
Well, I think you can't underestimate the time that she gave because Abigail's weakened at this point, right? Like she's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
drained
yeah, yeah.
of a decent portion of her blood. And I think that it's just the distraction that Melissa Barrera's character is able to provide um, was a large part of it. And I think she had her moments in there, but I think it did show that like it was a lot of like the the misguidedness of the cop, like where it's like he is a bad guy, like
Yeah.
he hated her from the very beginning, and I think at times he allowed that to distract him, like because he could have killed her easily, and instead he has this newfound like power and abilities, and he uses it to like toy with
Yeah.
his food a little bit, right? Like play with his food a little. And I think you saw that from the Abigail character too. It's like this idea that
Well, I
like
think
I'm
she
so
even
much more
said that.
powerful. Yeah, like she likes to play with her toys before she like kills them. Yeah. Um, but yeah, you get the team up and inevitably like they come out on top and they allow Barrera's character to be the only one who leaves alive. And I had asked you like, do you think they are setting up for any kind of a sequel with that idea?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really see, like, are we just gonna do another thing where she lures everybody to a house and goes to kill them again? Like, I don't
I
see
don't think
where
it
a
would.
sequel
I don't.
goes from this.
Yeah, I don't know that it would be that. I mean, maybe you flip the script and it's like Melissa Barrera's like this can't exist in the world, and I'm just gonna like chase it down. But I do think her character is more like you've gotten a second lease on life. I had compared it to Saw a bit when we left the theater for me, in that like her character's motives for being there are very much like a Saw's character, like what Jigsaw would bring somebody in for. Like your drug habit has led you to hurting those around you from killing people accidentally because you couldn't turn down the drugs to losing your child and not being able to go back and facing them. And it's like this redemption thing that he gives them where it's like you're gonna cut off your hand, like or like remove like what is it in the you've never seen any of the Saw movies?
No.
In the second Saw movie, I'm pretty sure there's a scene with a junkie where he makes them in order to get like a key, they have to jump into a pool full of needles and like sift through the needles to get the key. And I feel like it's very much that like you would have just done that to them. And in this, it's like you were a junkie who hasn't been able to face your kid because of the shame that you face from like all the mistakes that you've made. And now this is your like chance to see the value in life and how much you still deserve to live it. So yeah, maybe her character has no reason to be involved any longer. Uh, maybe Abigail turns into like a an anti-hero. She's out there just like
Now she's
murking
just
people
taking
for the
down a
right
homeless
reasons.
empire or some shit.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Probably doesn't need to be a sequel, but they'll find if it ends up making enough money, they'll find a way to write. You know.
Sure, yeah.
All right, we have several more movies to get through, so let's just hit this with would you give it for a rating?
Shit, I don't have that pulled up. Uno momento por favor.
So I gave it 2.5 stars.
Alright. Where's it land on your list?
I have it at ninth.
Alright. I have it also at 2.5 stars, but it's at 12th for me.
I have it in front of Which Brings Me to You, Ghostbusters, some other stuff. I have it right behind Godzilla, Kong, and Love Lies Bleeding.
Okay. I have it in front of Ghostbusters, Madam Web. I have it behind Which Brings Me to You. Um, yeah.
I mean, it's like I think I don't know. Which Brings Me to You, I like, but it's like not my favorite rom com I've seen. So I don't have it ranked that highly for myself. Not so much this year, but like because there hasn't really been any of the rom coms this year.
I mean, I'm starting to
Um,
see where, like, the trouble you were facing with ranking these movies against each other that are nothing like each other.
mhm.
And that just goes back to, like, looking at what this movie set out to accomplish and how well I think it accomplished it, and comparing that versus Which Brings Me to You, I think Which Brings Me to You still kinda was a
Did
cleaner,
a
more
better job.
polished movie, yeah.
Okay, I can respect that. I mean, they're basically in the same. Like we just have them one off of each other, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in terms of where they fell. Um, cool. All right, so let's get into the next one that we saw. The toughest name of a movie that's come out this year, one I infinitely struggle with, and I'm only going to get it right now because I have it directly in front of me. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, a um, a Guy Ritchie film starring Henry Cavill. You have Richardson, Henry Golding. Uh, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Alex
Wow.
Pettifer. He is from the I Am Four or I Am Number Four movie that was way back in the day. And then Eliza Gonzalez is the female lead in this. So strong cast, strong director. This movie feels very much like if you're into the Guy Ritchie type of film. Really well acted, really witty script, a nice flow to it. I think when Guy Ritchie hits it right, like he does it very well. He has been a little bit hit and miss at times, but I think like recently for me, it's like The Gentleman and this both were pretty hit. Like I don't know if there's a ton to say without like getting to heavy spoilers with this. But at the end of the day, I think like it achieved to your point when ranking this stuff, I think it achieved what it's supposed to achieve, right? Like I thought the action was all pretty satisfying. I thought all of the characters had their own like attributes and like standalone. Nobody like they all had their own particular roles to play, and I think they all executed on them very well. With obviously Alan Richardson and Henry Cavill standing out as your two like lead actors in it. For those of you who don't know it, like it kind of drops you into early World War II, when America has not entered the war yet, and you're it takes place primarily in Great Britain slash Germany slash was the island in Spain?
It was, like, off
Off the
the
coast of
coast of
Spain?
Europe. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and it's about the U-boats basically interrupting goods to get to Great Britain and the US not wanting to enter the war because they couldn't get across the ocean successfully and they didn't think that they essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like they didn't feel like there was a war that they could help win because they couldn't get over successfully, and it already felt like Great Britain was losing to the point where it's like what are we going to join for,
Yeah.
right?
It was basically
um
there was no point in them joining if they were gonna lose more than half their force trying to get there.
yeah. And you have this, this group of idiots, so to speak, in some ways, like very effective killers, but like kind of the outcasts of the military in a way. um this gang of misfits, um who are sent on a mission that's like an unsanctioned mission that's in between both sides of the war, where they're not allies with either, and only they know why they're going there, and they have to go and stop the U-boats essentially so that they can sway the tides of the war. And you follow kind of their mission across the ocean to get there, and then a large portion of the movie is there, obviously.
Yeah.
uh, I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. I thought the action lived up on both ends. I thought, to like what I said earlier, all of the characters were really, really solid, and I thought like the different storylines that were all going on were pretty well um, thought through and kind of fulfilled throughout the movie. And I left the movie being pleasantly surprised because we both talked about the fact that like we knew nothing going into this aside
Yeah.
from who was in it for me.
Yeah. All I knew was it was a war movie, but I didn't really know much beyond that.
And I think for the first like 20 minutes or so, it's like when you don't really know what's going on with a movie, you're kind of left like, well, like what exactly am I?
Where is
What's
this
going on
going?
here?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought one of the best parts of this movie and what really really helped it is the soundtrack. I think added a ton to the movie.
Yes.
Like I thought that that was one of the standout things while watching it for me was the feel that the music brought to a lot of the different scenes that you're watching were very good. And then also like there was really good. I thought that the scenes with like Eliza Gonzalez's character and the head Nazi,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the tension in those scenes, I thought were some of the best scenes in the movie. Like this kind of like dance that they're doing, they're kind of playing chess where it's like he doesn't trust her and she's trying to earn his trust. And like we as the audience know that he shouldn't trust her, but she's doing just a good enough job until she isn't, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I thought that that was really enjoyable.
Uh,
So, how much money has this made? Do you have that
yes, I do. Let me just
slash
get to that
budget?
tab. Uh, so we are currently at, wow, it's a lot less than I expected to see.
Guy
8.9
Ritchie
mil.
movies, yeah, Guy Ritchie movies don't historically like. This is where I think he's not like he's kind of a miss. Is that I don't think his movies always do like that. Like especially like he had the King Arthur movie, which was a huge bomb. Like he's had some very
Uh,
big bombs, and I think that that's where he gets some of the reputation that he has as being like very hit or miss. That there's a
it's
cleverness to his movies, but they don't make a ton of money.
it sucks, right? Because like we both watched this movie and we both agree it's a pretty good movie, but at 8.9 mil out of your first weekend and having a $60 million budget to cover is kind of tough.
It's going to be a flop, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you look up King Arthur for me and look up the budget slash what it made?
No Memento for four.
Because I think it's a similar case to that, where that movie was bad. Like that movie shouldn't have done well, and like it got critically panned. But this movie, I'm pretty sure from a critic standpoint, stands up pretty well. I think it's well paced. It comes in almost exactly at 2 hours. Not offensive at all from a time period standpoint, and like um, for me, it's one that I would definitely recommend if you're looking for like a fun action movie to go see. I think it's very very well made in that regard.
Yeah. Um, King Arthur was the 2004 release. Does that sound right?
No.
No. Shit. Then I'm looking at the wrong thing.
It's the
Uh,
it is 2017 King Arthur: Legends of the Sword.
that one. Okay.
I forgot he did The Covenant too, Guy Ritchie.
Oh yeah. Uh, that King Arthur had $175 million budget and only went on to get 150 worldwide.
Worldwide, yeah. Like, was the 8.9 worldwide or domestic?
Well, there is no international release.
Oh, interesting.
At
Figured
least
it
on
play
Box
in
Office Mojo, it has nothing recorded for international.
because I feel he is European, so like I feel like he probably draws decently over there. This movie does have like a it doesn't take place in America, you know.
Yeah,
Um to bother you that nobody in it, I don't think anybody had like English accents, right?
they all had accents, but I don't think
Did
any of them
they?
were English. Because like you had the Irish accent, the Swedish accent.
Well, they faked the Swedish accent.
Well, obviously. Um,
So that's what I mean. Like that's not like I'm having an
oh, you're
accent.
saying you're talking about like if there was actually any English characters,
Well, I'm saying that like the movie, they all had like it felt like traditional American English accents, and it doesn't take.
or no? Actually, I think all the like British military officers had English
I'm
accents.
talking about like the main actors, like Cavill.
No, none of them.
Like, isn't that weird?
Yes,
Like, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't
I
know that
can't
they
remember
had.
if Cavill had an accent now.
Yeah, he definitely said like European terms, like he said "boy" a lot, but not in the offensive way.
Yeah,
You know?
like oh boy, shit like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they did have it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not remembering that well. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. Like as far as if this is if you're into like action movies, if you're looking for like a pretty brisk like action comedy, I think it lives up. Stylishly, it's very well done.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how much we have for it, but like 3, 2, 1 spoilers. I don't have a ton to spoil for this. Because in all honesty, I think this is a hard movie to give like a really in detail review to because it is pretty dense. I think as
Yeah,
far
there's a
as
lot of
like
parts to it.
there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of parts. I thought Cavill was great as a leader, but I thought like Alan Richson is like great in these roles. Like after
Yeah,
watching Reacher, I'm like, I just love watching this dude just mow through people.
yeah,
And like the scene on the boat, I think is like perfectly done for what he is as a character. I don't want to see him like I think he plays the strong silent type much better than like trying to have I don't necessarily want him in like dialogue heavy roles. Granted, like Reacher obviously is the lead actor in it, so he has to talk a lot, but he doesn't like he's not like long dialogue in Reacher even. Like he's more like
straight
quick
to the
and to the
point.
point
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with what he talks about, you know? And I think it's at the end of the day, it's like him being so physically imposing and his brutality is what like sells him as being the actor that he is. And I think that this movie executed really, really well on that front.
Definitely. He had
And
some of the
and
best action sequences in the movie.
Yeah, whereas like it allows you to have like Cavill has like a lot more dialogue, does really well. I thought Henry Golding's character for like what little he gets to talk, like I always enjoy him in roles. I've liked him in a lot of. He was great in The Gentleman. He's obviously you have like Crazy Rich Asians. You have some of this other stuff that he's done, but he's really good. I like him a lot. Um, and then Eliza Gonzalez, I thought was like the standout for me because she is like the best acting I think in the movie. Um, in her whole like selling herself and like her wittiness in her character, and I think she is like very cunning in the way she's able to blend in with her role and get the buy-in from the
I
Nazis.
was gonna say, I think what makes her performance more standout too is the fact that she kind of has to flip between two different characters, both who she's faking to be towards the Nazi guy and who she's also portraying to be to the rest of the crew.
And they tell you like it's like she's an actress before she became like a military operative. She was an actress, and like You
Yeah.
can see that, like in her ability to adapt to the role and to like know, like he tries catching her at that one point with like giving her uh telling her a bank, and she's like, I don't know it. And then like her dropping the Jewish bank, being able to basically give her true feelings to him about like the Jews, but then at the same time flip it back to be like
Then just
that
drop a
what you hate.
JK at the end.
Yeah. And like to be like, you hate them so much, but don't you think that like there it's the smart play here, and she makes it believable why she would use their banking for the money, right?
Yeah.
Um, like I thought that that was really well done. Uh, I think the only thing like that I had wished is like she shows you how much of a badass she can be with like shooting the guns and everything. But then you never really get like a true action sequence with her.
No. Yeah.
And I almost wished I thought they were setting it up, and we talked about this when we left the movie. I thought they were setting it up like there's a scene where she does get found out that she is lying about who she is because she finally slips up and uses a Yiddish term, and he realizes that she's Jewish.
Yeah.
Um, and he goes to like torture her, but it's as all this stuff starts to playing out outside of where they are, with them coming to inevitably like the plan goes wrong, and they are stealing the U-boats instead of blowing them up, right? Well, not stealing the U-boats, but stealing the boat that supplies the U-boats.
Yeah.
Um, I thought when you got to that scene, because he's like hang her up and he's gonna go. I thought that we were gonna have her either escaping, like well, definitely escaping in some regard or
I was
another.
expecting like an escape scene and then her kicking some ass on the way out, but like you didn't get any of that.
No, and instead it's just kind of a it's more of her being like cunning, and it's like her having a plan. But like for that guy being the main villain, his death is pretty anticlimactic. It's funny. Like
No.
she takes a gun from her booze purse. And by booze purse, I mean uh,
Her meat wallet.
oh my god, that's a disgusting way to put it. I was just gonna say pussy. Oh yeah, like she just pulls a gun from nowhere because she shows you like her garter on her side. And she has no like that would be where you'd normally see like a strap for a gun.
Yeah.
I saw nothing holding a gun there. And then
Yeah.
I jokingly said to you, like her gun was so small that I thought it was gonna be one of those things where it's not powerful enough to have killed him. And he was just gonna because he like stands there for a second after he gets shot in the head and is like staring at her. And I thought he was gonna like live through it because I thought the bullet wasn't gonna be strong enough to take him out. But instead it's
Yeah.
just like leaves a little tiny bullet hole and he just fucking falls over and dies. And you're like, okay, like that was I thought there was going to be more here, and I think that would be the only letdown to any of the action in the movie is
Well,
that
there
I
was another
kind
letdown for me.
okay. What was it?
So the point where they're taking the sailboat from Britain to that island, they talked about all the different like obstacles they were going to have along the way, and we only get one encounter, and we don't even get to see that fully play out. Like, remember when they ran into the British destroyer and then the
Yeah,
U-boat shows
yeah.
up,
Well, they showed you why they were able to get rid of it. They used the depth charges to get rid of the U-boat,
but they didn't hit the U-boat. It hit all around the U-boat.
but I don't think depth charges. I don't know that they're necessarily meant to like. Obviously, if they get close enough, but I think they're meant to disorient the U-boat and scare them away.
I guess.
Yeah, like I was expecting that boat to blow up, but then it wouldn't play out for what they needed the plot to be at the end of it. I do
Fair.
agree that I wish that like even that sequence, it's like I sometimes hate that like dumb luck aspect of movies where it's like it has to
Yeah.
play out this way for them to get by because it's like they couldn't get stopped for very long. They they get stopped and it just so happens to be like that's when a U-boat rolls up on them.
Yeah. The only
And
U-boat, they sailed all the way from Britain around Africa, back up by like Europe, and
I mean they're a smaller vessel and those U-boats aren't looking for because it wasn't so much that they were supposed to be afraid of U-boats. In their fisherman boat. It's what you start the movie with is what they're supposed to be afraid of is people coming up and checking out, like seeing them from shore, I'm pretty sure, and coming and like stopping their ship.
yeah,
Like U-boats weren't going after fishing ships, right? Like they're going after those destroyers. And I'm pretty sure that destroyer generally would stay in international waters, but they had seen them from a far distance. Maybe they popped up on the radar, and that's why they went to check it out. Um,
yeah.
But I don't think the U-boats were really looking for. The only reason the U-boats became in play was because the destroyer was there. But it is like movie timing to be like, you're only going to end up being safe because you can get away because we have to focus on this other thing.
Yeah.
But like that's a plot device. You kind of have to have it for it to play out the way that it does to a point.
Yeah. I just wish
And
they
it's a,
gave me a better encounter is all.
sure, but I think it leads up to you getting like, I don't know. I like the whole like, um it has like an Italian Job feel to it. It has like a
Oh, for the
Fast and
whole
the
heist aspect
Furious,
of it. Yeah.
yeah, like heist aspect of it. Like I think like I like those types of films, and I think it executed on that very well. So I enjoyed that, like
Yeah.
that to the end of the movie. Having to kind of change the plan on the fly once they get there was really cool. And I also like that like the stuff that wasn't happening in the main plot of the movie, but more back with like it's the prime minister is the one who runs Great Britain.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like him being like, I need these guys to do it or I'm going to lose my seat. And having like his own people kind of working against him because they don't agree with what he's doing. And you have like a mole in the team who's been feeding information to the other side of the Brits and letting them
Yeah.
know like, hey, they're doing this thing that like we can't have happen, you know. I like that. And I like that at the end you get their like moment where it's like they've been in prison for what, 2 weeks, they said, 3 weeks.
I think it was 4 weeks, but yeah.
It was yeah, it was a month, you're right. Yeah, it was a month. And him finally coming and being like, thank you, you know. I like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like these guys who don't really believe in the military, who don't care to fight for those wars, and that like I like that aspect of like, why we choose these guys because they don't listen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Suicide Squad thing to a point as
Yeah.
well.
The team that gets the job by any means necessary.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I another one where I'd asked you after like I think there's a world where seeing how much money it's made, it's not going to do this. But I think that they would have made sequels to this if it made money.
Yeah.
Just because like the cast is a type of cast you would make a sequel with. First of all, second of all, they tell you because this is all based on a true story that these characters had more stuff that they did after this that was impactful. And not that you have to follow true stories for them, but like the characters themselves go on to do other things. Also, the aspect of Cavill's character marries Eliza Gonzalez's character in real life. So you
Yeah.
didn't see any of that play out on screen to where I very much think that they would have wanted to do a sequel to show that relationship, to like have that team back together and that relationship build. Um, and I think it would have been fun to see a sequel to this because I think it's a team of characters that I'd like to see together more. Like I think that there's more of this type of story that can be told with this group of characters. But if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make money. So you're not going to get
Yeah.
that. So what'd you give this one for a score? Do you have that up?
Yep. So this ranks number 3 on my overall list at 3.5 stars.
Same exact thing for me. Three and a
Oh,
half
really?
stars, rank number three. Yeah,
Nice.
I have Civil War and Dune in front of it.
Same.
Yeah. And
I think on the
cool.
top movies, we're not going to have too much disparity. It's more so going to be like middle to lower movies.
I mean, I felt that way almost all of last year, and then like Godzilla minus one dropped in like the very last week of last year and ended up the best movie of the year for me. So like,
I just
um
mean between our lists.
yeah, okay, yeah, like the disparity there. Yeah, I think that I'll be interested to see where the next one falls for you. Um but the I think yeah, you'll see a little bit because if a movie's good, it's good, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of the way it works. I think that like things like Dune and stuff, like it's like hard to say like that anybody's gonna ever watch that and be like, this is bad. Or has it substantially ranked differently? Like maybe I have it one and you have it two or something like that. But like,
Yeah.
uh, um, yeah, I think you're right in the sense that there's not going to be a lot of like change there for us. Um, cool. So let's get into our next one. Like I said, dense, very dense in terms of movie reviews here. Um,
Yeah.
and so we caught an early screening yesterday of Challengers, the challenge, or yeah, just Challengers. I keep wanting to call it the Challengers, but it's
No, it's
just
just
Challengers.
challengers. Yeah.
which is the Zendaya film. She directed this or produced it, one of the two. But I know
Did
she,
she?
yeah, this was her movie.
Oh shit. She
She didn't
is.
direct it; she produced it.
Yeah.
Tennis film. Would you consider like this is a romantic drama? Is that what you would consider this
Yeah.
to a point? It has
Yeah.
comedy aspects to it though. Like
I wouldn't call it a rom-com though, at all.
no,
This is
no,
definitely romantic drama, maybe a little bit of a sports movie, because I did focus on the tennis quite a bit.
yeah, but like it's not so much about who wins. It is about who wins and loses in tennis, but like it plays out more in how it affects their real life than it does. Like you have Zendaya's character who's like obsessed with winning.
Yeah.
Uh, you have one of the male leads who from the very beginning it seems because you have a lot of this movie's told it's based around one game of tennis, but it's a lot of flashbacks to as far as 13 years in the past to when they all, like him and the other male lead have been friends for longer than this, but when they met Zendaya's character and kind of the way that their friendship buds, but then how their friendships fall apart
Yeah.
uh, in this. And I think I mean, at the end of the day, a movie like this is going to be built on how well the acting is done. And I thought that the three leads just played their characters so well.
Yeah.
And I think thinking about it now, it's really impressive. The movie's about 2 hours and 11 minutes long. I think is the length on it, and there's not really other main characters outside of the three of them. Like, there's not like any pivotal side characters. It's really just solely 3 hours of like these three
Shit, you're right.
and like weaving their stories together. I think that's like super impressive now that I think of it. That like because to one thing I'll say about this movie, it's not an action heavy movie, but it is. I think it's pretty gripping like the whole way through, and I think I was pretty immersed into it from start to finish. I think it's a very well made movie. And I think some of the best movies is like there's not like a character like a prototypical like this is your good guy, this is your bad guy. I think each character has their flaws and they have their defining characters that make their characters who they are. So, like I said, Zendaya's character is very much like an obsession with tennis. And that obsession bleeds through to like once she loses tennis and how it still impacts her life and having to feel like winning is the most important part of what she does. And she's a true competitor at heart. And you have this other character who's a little bit more always been like, I play tennis. I like tennis, but like the winning and losing aspect is never like he doesn't care so much about it. Hence why he also was going to go to college and play. And like you had the other person who was very like the other character who is like I'm very competitive, but I'm really just doing this as a means to an end. Like I want to go pro immediately because why waste my time with school? I want to make money. I want to go and live my life. Like that seems like you play tennis because you want to have fun. Like I want to have fun with my life. I don't care about having a plan for all of this other stuff. And like they play those very defined characters well. Um, the movie I think was mainly sold off of like that threesome scene.
Yeah.
I think that most people are aware of that, and that's what's going to be a major selling point to this movie is like, what is that all about? And I will tell you, that scene is something. That scene is something, man.
Yeah. What the
Did you feel
fuck?
uncomfortable sitting next to two strangers for that?
No.
I was like,
I think if I was by myself sitting next to strangers, it would have been a little different. I guess I don't know what it really adds that I was there with another guy, but
I I'd also like to say this. I have been a Sydney Sweeney guy for a couple months now, right?
oh yeah.
I might be a Zendaya guy now, dude.
Yeah? Finally
Boy, oh
finally
boy,
got you.
dude.
Finally
I
got you.
like that man, that girl.
Yeah.
Eh, she was something in this movie, dude.
She
Uh
she she was working it.
It like she was beautiful in it for one. But then also like this character that just knows what she wants. It is just like fuck it. Like I'm going to assert myself as dominant in every single situation. Whether it's in the tennis like playing tennis or if it's in my sex life, I'm going to play and assert my dominance on everything. Uh and I imagine that's a lot like what somebody who is like at the peak of their craft like that would
Yeah,
be like. Uh, but it was very attractive. And I don't know those underwear she was wearing, buddy. I was like,
I was
this is
getting you.
great.
Yeah.
I didn't know Zendaya got down like this. I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't know your game was quite
Ma'am.
like this. I hadn't respected your game. I'm sorry.
Clearly
Hats off
respected
to
now,
you.
throwing out the ma'am. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I'm a Zendaya guy now through and through.
Alright.
Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she wasn't Mary Jane in this one. She was something else
No, no,
entirely.
and I think that that's what it is that like I'm so conditioned to her being like this like maybe if I've seen more of Euphoria at this point.
I'll tell you right now, Euphoria doesn't push her as an attractive character either.
No, I gathered that. We'll get into that in the taste test. Um,
Oh.
but like I get it. I think that that's the thing. To me, she is MJ in Spider-Man now. In this like wholesome, kind of funny, caring character who doesn't really sell herself on any kind of sex appeal. Uh, and in this, it's like, wow, that's a woman. Like that's a fucking woman.
Oh my
Uh,
god. Alright.
and to the point where like, you know, I'll tell you right now, like if you're gonna see this movie, you need to be okay with dudes kissing. Like it happens. It's more graphic than I would say the girl on guy kissing is. In a lot of
There's
ways.
there's also more dicks than tits.
Yeah, yeah, way more dicks than tits. Dude, I saw at least 6 soft cocks. And I saw one hard one. It was fine though. The hard cock was funny actually. Like that was one of the funnier aspects of the movie. He fucking slaps that thing.
Oh my god. You saying this out loud isn't as funny if you haven't seen the movie.
um,
Oh
yeah, so
god.
like we'll move into spoilers here in a second. So basically, like I would say this. I think this movie lives up to the hype. I think it's got a lot of hype around it because I think Zendaya is just one of those characters for people right now, or one of those actresses who has real big marketability and is going to be a selling point to the movie. I think because they sold themselves with that three-way kiss and like Zendaya doing something like that, I think is a wise choice because it gained a lot of buzz and I think a lot of traction that I think a tennis movie just on its own wouldn't necessarily bring in. So I think just purely on a storytelling and acting standpoint, this movie sells 100%. I think it hits really well. I think one of the gripes you had was potentially was two. We had one shared gripe. You had one on your own that I somewhat see where you're coming from. The music was kind of weird at points.
I
Um,
It wasn't so much the music itself as much as it was the timing of when it presented itself.
yeah, I thought the mixing too, like how loud it was at points, was like weird when they're trying to have dialogue while also playing like it was like dance music for a lot of the movie.
Yeah, it was mostly like club music.
Yeah. So that felt a little weird. And then yeah, you thought it came in at like just weird beats in conversation in like weird parts of scenes and things that were traditionally like they're not like in a club and playing music. It's like they're
And I
in
just
like
also
a
don't need like I get the intention of the music to build tension and interest in a scene, but like I don't think it was necessary in those scenes. It would have been
yes.
better as like a faint like background maybe as much as like it just came in like booming to the forefront.
Yeah. So I think that that was one thing that like would be a little bit of a downer. And then you also didn't like some of the camera work.
No.
Care to elaborate?
Uh I mean, there were definitely like this is a tennis movie as well, and like there were some scenes where they were doing some interesting camera work with some of the tennis scenes. They did like a first person camera where it seemed like it was maybe a chest mounted camera while they were playing tennis. And it wasn't clean. It was very disorienting. A lot of like shaky cam. Like I couldn't really even really follow what was going on. You couldn't really grasp any detail. And
I think
then
it's a thing of like trying to make tennis more interesting from a movie standpoint
I
is
get
what
what
they
they
were
were
trying to
trying to
do.
do. I just
Yeah.
don't love the way they went about it.
I thought one of the funnier aspects is every time they would focus on the crowd, and I was sitting there trying to imagine myself at a
Go
tennis
ahead,
match
left and
because
right.
their heads
Yeah,
going like,
that
I
was
just found
funny. Yeah,
myself
yeah,
chuckling at points of like them being like, I'm like, damn, my neck would kill at some point watching this shit,
yeah.
dude. Like, they're just right, left, right, left, right. It just didn't stop, dude.
Just like everybody that watches tennis has jack traps.
If I could give you some homework, Dante, for a movie to watch,
Oh god,
add this to your list. The movie Wimbledon.
Wimbledon.
Yeah,
Uh,
check that one out.
okay,
I'm serious. Like,
2004 release.
yeah, watch it this week. I love that movie.
All right, yeah, sure. Throw that on there.
Do you have what streaming services on? Maybe I'll watch it too.
Crap. I just whoa. Sorry, I just hit the wrong button and it went way out.
Porn.
Um, no, it doesn't look like it's available to free stream anywhere. You'll have to rent or buy it.
All right, we'll check how much it is on Vudu.
It'll be like $4.
I mean, I might buy it.
Oh, you have to
I
buy
do
it. It's
really
probably
like
like
that
10.
movie. Okay, so three, two, one. Well, actually, yeah, definitely recommend. If I didn't make that clear, 100% recommend go see this. It's 100% worth it. There is some uncomfortable parts, people. Not gonna lie to you, but there's also some funny parts. The characters aren't always likable, which is, I think, a positive to it. It's not a movie that just like it doesn't have.
It
It's not
doesn't
a movie
sway
that's
bias.
yeah, it's not a movie that sets out to be like I said, like this is a good guy, this is the bad guy, this is who you should root for, this is who you shouldn't root for. None of the characters have like that type of defined role, and I think it makes you appreciate the story more because you kind of have to make your own mind up about who you side with in it, and like you're gonna hate characters at times, you're gonna like them at other times, you're gonna feel bad for them at other times. So three, two, one, spoiler. Not a ton to spoil on this movie because like there's not like I talked to you a little bit of like the so getting more into the characters not being like Zendaya's character is the least likable of any of them. I think when you get into this, because from the very beginning, she tells them she doesn't want to be a home wrecker, but she literally does everything that she could to a point to home wreck, right? Like she brings that three-way thing together, right? She's the archetype of that happening. She's the one who tells them one of them has to win my love, basically, and puts a wedge between their friendship because it's very clear from the beginning that Art cares about her, whereas and I forgive me, what's the other guy's name?
Zweig.
Zweig. He is very much more the fuck boy, right? Like, uh, I'm just like here for fun. I want to fuck you. Like, there's very clear dynamics there already as to what's going on. And it's like, I'm not a home wrecker, but whoever wins this game gets me.
Yeah.
Well, that's already, you're making them compete for you. Like, that's already driving a wedge between them. And then you see it progress throughout the years of like, I understand why she doesn't end up with Schweig because she resents him for the fight that they get into and how it affects her getting hurt. Essentially, whether it's his fault or not, like she was obviously angry and like that led to her maybe playing. Her injury seems still like kind of a freak accident thing, but like
Yeah.
he clearly is part of like that in her mind. So I understand that aspect. But like Art, outside of being a shitty friend by kind of like you had said to me yesterday, like dirty macking and kind of being like he doesn't love you, and then going to her and going he doesn't love you, like do you really want that? And then him going to him to his friend and being like she doesn't care about you. I appreciated that. Like I wish we had a better name for him. Hit me with the name again. Schve
Zweig.
Schweig. You wanna say Sven. Schweig. He what's his first name, dude? Do we have a first name?
Patrick.
That's way easier, dude.
They went by last names in most of it.
No, Art was Art, dude. Like, his last name's Donaldson, I know that, but, like, he went by
Uh,
Art. So Patrick,
Zweig is such a cool name, though.
I like that Patrick is very much like, I see what you're doing, buddy. And it's cool. I get it. You know, like I'm more so like I've wanted you to break out of this, like to actually give a fuck about winning and like be more cutthroat because that's what holds you back. And him, I think in some ways that makes him a likable character where it's like he's just trying to push this dude to understand that like the reason I'm able to do the things that I do is because I don't give as much of a fuck, right? Like I am more of an asshole, and that's where I've gotten to where I've gotten because of that. You're too nice, and it holds you back, right? Like you don't go for the throat enough. And I'm glad to see you having a little bit of backbone and trying to do this because you see what you want and that I have it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so like I appreciated that a little bit. Um, but outside of like the dirty macking, like Art is just like a good guy, right? Like he genuinely loves what is Zendaya's real name now? Yoshi,
Tashi.
Toshi, Dashi.
Tashi.
Tashi Dashi. So he genuinely loves her, puts her first, and literally only plays tennis because he's afraid that she'll leave him if he doesn't play tennis, even though they have a fucking kid together, which is crazy.
Well, because the whole point was all she cared about was winning. All of
But
the
why
rest was
like
just byproduct.
I wish that they had him. So I was trying to think about this while we were watching it. Like, how pissed was she when she got pregnant?
It probably seemed like a minor inconvenience for her
I feel like she is the type that would not want to carry a child.
because notice she was dismissive with the child throughout the movie too.
Like I thought she was like she cared about it, but a lot of the times it was like, I'm gonna keep focusing on tennis and like talking about tennis. I'll be with you in like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, like the kid wanted to watch a movie and she was like, "All right, here, take the iPad, go watch it with grandma. I'll be in there eventually."
And it is like heartbreaking again, like the way this family works, it's like she goes and cheats on him and she comes home to find him sleeping in bed with their daughter. And it's like I thought in that moment, like the movie was coming to an end, and you're left to interpret a lot, but like I was like, she's got to realize she has a good thing here, right? Like, and like I shouldn't just be going and fucking Patrick in the back of a shitty fucking Ford Escape.
It was a CRV.
Sure.
Um, but it was crazier that even in that scene, she still didn't seem to show much remorse. There was like a slight moment of like, "Oh fuck," but like I don't think it impacted her as much as it would most people.
Because yeah, even at the end of the movie, she gets impassioned and like screams for the first time since the beginning of the movie. And
Yeah,
it's because she finally saw her man like legitimately win. It had nothing to do again with like him being a better person. It's like
it was all for the
he
love
got
of the
his
game.
mojo back. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is very cutthroat in that regard. Like, because she essentially wants him to throw. She wants Patrick to throw the game to give her husband a false sense of confidence. Go so he can go win the last thing that he hasn't won. But the thing is, like, even if he wins the U.S. Open, like, what's she gonna want next? Like, is she gonna be okay with him hanging it up at that point?
and that's why I didn't love the way it ended. Because I was like, "There's definitely more to this."
I think it's like that artsy way of ending a movie where it's like you're left as the audience to interpret what's next for these characters and like interpret them the way that you want to interpret.
I guess the way the story was going, there was never going to be a happy ending, so that was the closest point you could get to a happy ending.
Well, I think I will give them the benefit of the doubt on some of this because there is a happy ending, right? Like there is her realizing her wrongs, like allowing, like I don't know how you necessarily do it well, right? Do you have Art lose and her forgive him and be like, it is enough that like we have a child? Like maybe like seeing them in the bed together after she comes home from that, she realizes the wrongs of her way. Like that there was some type of happy ending there. But I think the happy ending that you're left with is really that Art and Patrick seem to have resolved their problems, even though he literally finds out that he just fucked his wife the
The
night
night
before.
before. Yeah.
Like that's the weirdest part is like they have this moment where it's like they just smile at each other and it's like, all right, let's play fucking tennis. Like, you know? Um,
Ugh.
and it's weird that she's like, I don't know, like I've never been in that spot, but like I feel like you'd get up and like be like, fuck, I need to get out of here. Like this is uncomfortable. They both know like they both
Yeah.
know what happened. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And instead she's like, fuck yeah, it worked. I did fuck my way to the top.
In a sense, yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh,
But like
I
I think because of all of it, it's like these things made the movie better. Don't get me wrong. Like they're like it leaves discussion. And I think that's why they ended it the way that they do end it, right? Is like it leaves the discussion to be had about like who is right, who is wrong. Um, are these characters ever gonna like is she gonna ever be happy as a character? I don't know that like she would be. Um, I don't like is does Art pivot this into going on to win, or does this lead to him being like I don't like I left my friend behind for 13 years over a girl who cares more about seeing championships that she's not even winning herself than like my personal happiness because I've already shared with her that I don't enjoy doing this anymore.
she's still riding the wind though. Like, I mean, I think that's why they kept showing like that billboard poster they had, like both of them on it. Like,
It
she's
is
found a
weird
way
also,
to ride through success through her injury.
but because it also is weird that she her whole point to going to college like
Was to
was
be
that
more than
she
just a tennis player, but I
yeah,
think
and then
through
once
that
she
she
doesn't
realized that
have
was all she knew.
but like yeah, I guess it just like it didn't make a lot of sense in that regard where it's like you went to school for the chance that something like this could happen. But then you're telling me that like you'd never develop skills from that school that you went to, even after getting hurt. Um, and like, because I thought she was going to be more on like the marketing side because you see her working on like the poster type thing
Yeah.
at the very beginning. So I thought she was like a marketer more than she was just his coach.
I think the point is that she was a shitty person from beginning to end.
Yeah, obsessed like with it. You know, and
Ugh.
I wonder what her character looks like if she doesn't get hurt. Like, does she end up with either one of them?
No, she leaves them behind.
Yeah. Really good movie. At least for me, like you know, I can't speak for you. Like I thought, like I said, I thought it was pretty gripping the whole way through. I was pretty invested into the story. Um, it's okay to leave a movie without feeling like the satisfaction of a happy ending, because I thought the journey to get there was good. Um, the gripes that we had are very minor, so like I enjoyed it quite a bit. I to the point where I ended up giving it. I have it at 3.5 stars.
Okay.
Where are you at?
I'm just under that at 3 stars.
Okay.
I
And
think I think originally I wanted to give it 3.5 stars, but the thing with the score just unsettled me a lot, and the way it ended, I didn't really love, and I think that docked it the half a star for me.
okay. Where do you rank it?
It is 10th on my list? No, ninth on my list.
So I have it at fifth.
Okay. I mean, the stuff I have in between what would have got it closer to 5th is stuff you haven't seen. So, like, I still have Arthur the King above it. Anyone But You was a 2024 release for me, or watch for me. I might take that off my list because now I'm starting to feel like it's unfair.
Oh, I mean, Dante, in our little game that we're playing here, it's not on your list.
Oh, you're counting it off?
Yeah, because I saw the movie too. I just saw it in the year that it came out.
All right, you know what? We're doing this
So it's a
right now, live
wash.
on
Like
air. I'm taking it
it
off.
doesn't fucking count. All right. So let's get into it. Do you have it?
D- do you have it? Taste.
Taste.
Close.
Good. Uh so here's the thing. There's a war brewing on this podcast, people. And you saw the fucking the seeds planted last week if you watched. We have our competing lists here. They weren't meant to be competing, but they have turned into a competition
It was
because
only
Dante
supposed to be for
thinks
comparison.
but Dante thinks he's going to see more movies than me. And there's not a world where I live in that I will let that happen.
Oh, oh, you think you have to let it happen?
Yeah. Yeah. It's up to me
Bruh,
whether or not that
bruh.
happens or not,
You're
buddy.
not getting the win here.
This is my world. You just live in it.
You introduced me to it, but I'm taking over.
And so I was like looking at his list and I'm like, I'm not counting anyone but you. Like, there's not a world where I count that because it's on my list too. Just because you saw it a month and a half after it came out, and I appreciate you seeing it. That's great. Doesn't count towards the list.
All right.
I didn't get to count Die Hard. You don't get to count that.
All right, I removed it. I'm still ahead of you.
You can keep it on your list, but
No,
it's
it's
not going
off.
to count in the grand scheme of
No,
things.
it's off. It's off.
Cool. All right. So I tried to sneak this movie by Dante. I did. I did,
Fucking asshole.
admittedly. It wasn't so much challengers that I tried to sneak by you, by the way. I was going to sneak a screen unseen by you last night. I had bought that ticket before we saw Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I knew I was going to see it and I decided not to share. You said you were off Monday. I was like, I had only bought the single seat anyways by like the in the little handicap section. But I wasn't going to share. I was like, I'll have this one in my pocket. We're good. And then it's like 3 a.m. I'm up and I'm scrolling through tickets that I can buy, and I see early screening for challenges. So, well, actually, you know what? It wasn't that. I was on the AMC Reddit
Mm,
looking to try and find out what was playing for Screen Unseen. And it was like, we thought it was going to be challengers, but it's not going to be challengers because AMC is actually doing a early showing. And I was like, oh, let me check out when that is. And I see that. So I ended up, I didn't share that more so because I bought the ticket at 3 a.m. But either way, I probably wasn't going to share it with you because I wanted to have it. You know, I wanted to put a little pressure on you. So I did try to do that. That's fair. That's fair. Uh, but yeah, now this has turned into a beef. Like me and you have podcast beef over who's gonna fucking see the most movies this year. So yeah, you still have a 2 movie lead on me. That's fair. You've got it. But it ain't gonna last, Buckaroo. It ain't.
all right. You keep thinking that.
My mind's already working, dude. I might start seeing religious movies. I might go see The Chosen.
You're gonna
I might
start
see
watching
those.
like the international movies they show at South Bay.
I might go see those God movies where they talk about how miracles saved their lives.
mm, mm. The Chosen wouldn't count, by the way, because that's a series, not a movie.
Saw it in the theater.
Doesn't count.
Where can I watch that on TV?
Doesn't count. It's not a movie. I'm not
Well,
gonna let you rack up episodes
something
towards your
of the
count.
like. I will, buddy. You've unlocked something now. I'm seeing everything.
Now we're both gonna have to suffer some bad movies just to try and keep our list count up.
It's the cross we bear. You did this. It's
All
your
right.
fault. All right, so we each saw one additional movie this week. Uh, that we can run through that I assume are in our taste test. So I've seen half of your movie, so let's talk about it. Monkey Man.
Yes.
Sell me. Why should I see this movie again?
Oh, I mean, honestly, man, like you made it sound like it was a bad movie.
The first hour sucked, dude.
It was interesting enough. I'm
Fuck
not
no.
gonna go out and say it was a great movie, right? But like, I think the
The first
action in this
hour
movie
is
really pays
so
off.
the first hour is so boring, and there's one action scene.
One,
In the first hour, yeah, it's the scene of him deciding to try and kill those motherfuckers in the club,
yeah, okay.
and then the car, and then the shitty chase,
So at one point, did you fall asleep?
the ayahuasca trip
So it was
when he
after.
blows the when he blows that shit in his face and he starts tripping balls. That's when I fell asleep.
Okay. Um, I mean, this movie's very mid. I'm not gonna try and sell you and tell you it's the best thing ever, right? But, like,
You tried telling me it was good last night and I should watch it. So don't change your tone now on
no,
it,
I'm just
dude.
saying I think it's better than you gave it credit for because you didn't finish it.
Yeah, I saw an hour of the 2-hour movie and it was like, this is boring. And I closed my eyes for a minute and all of a sudden it was an hour.
I just think, like, after, like, the tribe picks him up and shit, and he does this whole, like, training thing. The tribe thing is weird, by the way. It's like a tranny tribe?
I didn't see any trannies in that group. Sorry. Slept through that part.
Oh, okay. They're all man women.
Huh. They all have vaginas?
I don't know what they have for genitalia, but, they were all very clearly, this is controversial, but what I would perceive to be cisgender males.
Isn't that just gay? Like, when did that stop just being gay?
I I think gay is a reference to your sexual preference, not the way you portray yourself.
Okay. All right. I guess I have to see the movie again to understand this.
This isn't a grand part of the movie at all. They didn't even really touch on it. It's just something I noticed where I was like, "Oh, these are all dudes with long hair, painted fingernails, wearing female clothing."
Don't remember that.
Yeah. But basically they were like a fighter tribe that didn't fight anymore and they were training him up and then he goes back to take down the chief of police that killed his mom.
Sounds like The
And
Lion King.
I I was thinking that honestly.
Rafiki in this bitch.
And mostly I was thinking it because the way you compared Black Panther to Lion King felt a lot like the way this could relate to Lion King.
Oh, he goes away for a little bit and then needs to
Yeah.
come back.
He had to come back and take out Scar. But I just think like that like final like action sequence was actually pretty good and I enjoyed that a lot.
I'll watch it when it's on
It
stream.
it it made it worth watching the movie for me. I'm not going to say it was a great movie. I mean, I feel like the plot was all very meh, but I did like the final fight scene. It was very John Wick-esque. He just kind of shows up and he's just tearing through everybody. He's just all of a sudden a killing machine after a month of training in some remote tribe.
Yeah, and after he spent most of the first half of the movie being a fighter who just intentionally gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, that was all a mental health thing. He wanted to feel pain because he was still grieving from his mother.
Yeah. Right.
You didn't get that because you didn't watch the whole movie,
Ah, yeah, that's fair.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Went over my head, dude. What'd you give it? Where'd you rank it?
Uh, let's take a look. See here. This was I think 2.5. Oh fuck! I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah, I told you. You thought it was good. You just all of a sudden switched up.
Yeah, 3 stars, and I put it right in front of Abigail.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Your list is losing credibility, dude.
is it though?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. All right. So I saw the first Omen.
I was actually curious about that one. What'd you
Sorry.
think?
I liked it. I liked it. I mean, it's
I
kind of
couldn't find
weird,
any
like
showtimes
seeing.
that like lined up for me.
I did think it was a bit weird. Like, it's very similar to Immaculate.
Oh, it's like very religious focused.
I mean, it takes place in a coven again. Yeah,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah. It's an American
Th-
girl who,
this is
or
something
not
where
American, maybe.
I have no idea about the movie aside from the fact that it's like a prequel to the original Omen, right?
Yeah, so it is a prequel. It takes place in the same universe. I'm wondering how they're going to play out with that. But yeah, it takes place all in like a coven, and it's about them birthing the spawn of Satan, basically.
Damn. Plot
And
twist. What if Immaculate was the prequel to the Omen and she didn't kill the baby at the end?
no, because we go through a whole pregnancy again. There's a scene of a hand coming out of a vagina in this movie.
What?
Yeah, close up. Saw it.
It's like the baby's just
It's like a
raping
no, it's like a
itself.
demon hand. It's like a demon hand. This imagine this, dude. See my hand? It's like you see the hand and it's just a vagina behind it.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
I was like, holy shit, what is this? Um, so it is about like this girl, like so they've been trying to birth they've been trying to birth a female that can then hold the seed of Satan inside of it to birth this child into the world. And they failed multiple times over. And they essentially there ends up being like finally a successful one. And um, they impregnate her, but not like the immaculate style of like they just like artificially inseminate her. Like she goes to a club one night and meets a dude and gets like super fucked up, and they take that as the opportunity to fuck a child into her. Um, and yeah, so she gets pregnant, finds out that she doesn't know that she is, and there's this like good priest who's trying to tell her like there's a girl in there that they think is the girl that they're trying to use for the seed of Satan. And she's got to try and find out more information to save her. And while that's happening, like the church is trying to stop her. And all the while, you're not really knowing that it's like it's actually her that's the one. And the other girl happens to be her sister because they both were like birthed together, or like they're one's younger than the other, but like they're both from the same lineage essentially. Uh, I'm brutalizing some of the story, by the way. Like there's more context given to a lot of this, but it doesn't have the same twisted ending that you get in like Immaculate. Like Immaculate's way more unhinged in its finish,
Yeah.
but this movie's still pretty fucked up. Like she does have the child. They leave. They still like she has twins actually, but they only care about the boy. And they take the boy and they leave her and the other newborn child to die in like a fire. Then she gets saved, and basically the movie wraps up with them taking the boy and they give him to like the prime minister or something, um as like his he loses a child that same night that this kid is born, and they give this kid to him, so now this kid's getting raised in like the most influential family in Europe. And it's like a way for them to infiltrate with this fucking demon seed who he can grow up with this family while running Europe, and he'll be able to like be born into power essentially. And I think the coolest part for this movie, in all honesty, to me, because I actually did enjoy this quite a bit, and it's not generally the type of movie I like that much. But the thing I think I liked the most is so the very end of the movie, the girl lives with her baby, and her sister's the one who saves her, and they're living in this cottage out in the woods, and it's like snowy. And the priest who's been like helping them try to figure out what the fuck's going on comes and sees her, and she's like, leave me alone, like I don't want to see anybody ever again, like I've left that shit behind, I'm done with it. And he's like, but they know that you're alive and they know where you are, and they're gonna come and try and find you. And in my head I'm like, dude, if this sets up to like the second movie is this chick just being like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill them all. Just like that's my type of movie. Suddenly we're in my
Yeah,
style of
yeah,
movie
yeah.
where it's like this girl's like, I'm gonna burn that fucking church down. You think you're gonna come after me and my family now? Like you already fucked with me enough. Like
Yeah.
and the movie just kind of ends like that. And like knowing that it is a prequel, I don't know if they're gonna do a sequel or if they're just gonna leave it like The Omen is the actual sequel to this movie, which is a movie I don't know that I've ever seen or not. I might have to watch it
I've
to
seen
try and figure
scenes
out that,
from it, but I don't think I've ever actually watched the whole thing.
because I don't know how well this lines up
I just know that the
to
original
that.
Omen movie contributed to my fear of elevators for a long time.
Really?
Yeah. There was a scene where I loosely remember it. I was very young when I saw it, but one of the doctors in a hospital like pissed him off or something, and so he makes it like his whole thing is he just controls like basically things that look like freak accidents, and he makes
Yeah.
it so the elevator's cable snaps and kills the whole team of doctors.
And that's the kid, by the way.
Yeah.
Like that's this kid that gets
Yeah,
handed
yeah,
off
yeah.
to the
Damien.
yeah, Damien. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I like if they get a sequel and they have this thing where like she's just like, I tried getting out, but you brought me back, and she just has to go and fucking murk a bunch of people in the church, dude. Like, sign me up. I'm there for that shit. Because
Hmm.
she does kill one of them. She kills him good. Like slices, it's like stabs him in the fucking throat. 'Cause she tricks him. She's like, "Can I hold the baby?" And she does try to pull the Sydney Sweeney and be like, "I need to kill this kid," but they stop her before she can,
Yeah.
and that's how they get out with the kid. But yeah, so I did give this 2.5 stars. I have it ranked at 12th, right in front of Immaculate. I figured they're like pretty comparable to each other, and I just put it. I think it's better than Immaculate.
Hmm.
I put it at 12.
Alright.
Do you have anything else for your taste test?
I watched one other thing. I don't really want to spend too much time on it. It was a movie called Freaky with Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn.
And Vince Vaughn, yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's supposed to be really good.
It was all right.
Like it's supposed to be really good for like a streaming movie. It's one of like the better Vince Vaughn movies to come out.
Yeah, it was a
Recent
fun
memory.
one. Um, there were
It's
definitely
along the
some
same
fun
lines as
kills,
like
but like,
Totally Killer. And
yeah, that kind of thing. It's, I mean, like, it's basically like a Freaky Friday thing, right? Like, teenage
mhm.
girl and serial killer body swap. And so now the serial killer's living in the teenage girl's body and going around using it as an opportunity to kill a bunch of high school students, which was his MO. And she's in his body trying to stop him, and he's very recognizable. He's a known serial killer, so like everywhere he goes, they're like, "Oh my god, it's him, the butcher," or whatever they called him. Um, I didn't really pay too much attention to the movie. I think I was doing something else while I was watching it, and maybe that's the reason I think it's kind of meh. But like, I think the plot line was very weak. The kills, some of them were pretty fun. Was like a scene where like kid gets caught in a cellar and they shove a wine bottle down his throat and then break it. You see like all the shards like split through his neck.
Jesus, pretty vicious.
Yeah, yeah. There were definitely some violent kills here, but for the most part it was all right.
So recommend, no recommend?
It's one of those things where I'd say if you have like nothing else to watch and you just want something to pass the time, sure, throw it on. But I don't know if I'd go out of my way to say recommending it.
Okay. I have two other things. So I purchased the movie Air Force One Down, which is a B level action movie which
Is
stars
that like a
Catherine
ripoff of
McNamara.
Black Hawk Down?
No, it'd be more like Air Force One with Harrison Ford.
Uh,
Um, but neither really. So it's got Catherine McNamara in it, who I like. She's Oliver Queen's daughter in Arrow. Um, she is she's in the military and gets added on to her uncle is the head of the Secret Service who is protecting the president on Air Force One. And she gets added to the team, and her first job is to go on to Air Force One with them. And Air Force One, he has signed like a thing with fuck, I can't remember what country, some like something Russia or some shit, around oil, and the plane ends up getting hijacked because they don't want that deal to go through. And she is basically like everybody gets killed except for her, and she's got to try and save the president. And it's surprisingly like I thought it was going to be absolutely terrible in all honesty, and I only bought it because I like her and it was on sale for like $7. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. I liked it.
hmm,
If it's just like a cheesy straight to DVD style action movie with some actually like surprisingly good action. Like she held her own in the action sequences. I was impressed. Um, it's like got that very much like a lot of action now is going to always be very John Wick inspired. So it's very much like that type of action, like like going through hallways with like a gun and just like stylish headshot kills and like hand to hand stuff in between it and some good shit there. Yeah. So I thought it's worth watching. Like if it ends up on a streaming platform or something, it's kind of the same deal you're saying. Like don't necessarily have to go out of your way to watch it, but if it's on a streaming platform looking for an action movie to throw on, I think it's definitely a good call. The only other thing I'll mention that I saw is I did watch one episode of Euphoria.
okay.
Uh,
Thoughts?
I don't know if I can go back.
Oh, really?
It's heavy, dude. It's a lot. Like
But like it starts right out with Sydney Sweeney, doesn't it?
yeah. No,
No, it
she's like
doesn't
not
start out
in
with
until
that.
like
No, no.
she's like her like so she does have like so she has her sex scene in that movie or
Yeah.
in that show in the first episode. And the one thing I'll say is like she gets like thrown on the bed and choked because she's been like the dude who she's seeing like earlier in the day. Everybody tells her how much of a slut she is and show her all these like show all these naked pictures of her and shit. And he goes into it and like throws her on the bed and starts like choking her. And it's being like narrated by Zendaya, and she's like, if you go on any porn website right now, like the top 20 categories are way more graphic than this, and it just like flashes across the screen with like all these fetishes and shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now?
That show is very out of pocket for shit like that.
Yeah, and like she's just like, yeah, but you like surprised me. She's like, don't do it again. Well, like unless you tell me before. I'm like, oh damn, you a freak girl.
Yeah.
Uh, so like that's just like that part's like whatever, but it's more like the Zendaya like heroin shit, um, and well, like cocaine, but like her overdosed on the floor with like throw up all around her, and then the girl gets into like the fight with Jacob Elordi's character, who's like a piece of shit, and like just fucking cuts herself. And the episode just ends with like, I just had a crazy idea, like, you want to do some drugs, like I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, man. Like, it's just like very intense. Like,
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna keep going, but it's like I don't know if I'll watch like do my normal binge
Binge.
everything. Like, I might
Yeah.
need to put a little space in between some of these episodes because it's just a lot to digest, dude. And I know
It
it
is
only gets
intense.
like I know it only gets like worse
Yeah.
too.
Well,
So
once you
it's
get
like,
more into like the drama of things between the characters and stuff, it definitely intensifies.
yeah. So um,
But you didn't
it's
even get to.
definitely
I don't remember. I don't think you meet Angus Cloud's character in the first episode yet.
you
Oh,
do.
you do?
I like him a lot. Actually, he's the best
Yo,
character in it.
Fesco is my favorite character in that show. Him and his little
He's
brother.
just like he's just like talking to Zendaya, and he's just like, yeah, but like I wish you didn't do the drugs. I'm like pretty sure you sell her the drugs, right?
Yeah.
Like, but he's like, I really like you, and like I don't want to see you like anything bad happen to you. You really shouldn't do these drugs.
Yeah.
He seems like a sweet guy. So
No, he's fucking great. And the crazy
um,
thing is, like, I don't even know if he's really acting in the show. That like I've seen a few interviews, and that's just what he is regularly too. Like
well,
just
he's
that same like
talking the
monotone
same
and like
exact way he does in Abigail. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm gonna keep going with it just because I know that like people love it and shit, and like there's obviously a reason behind that. Um, it's just not an easy watch.
no, it gets graphic sometimes too.
But cool. You don't have anything else, right?
Nah,
All right. So with that being said, everybody, this, like I said from the very beginning, didn't lie to you. A lot of fucking movies to talk about. We this could be the podcast from here on out, just with the way we set this up, where we're just gonna keep needing to see a million movies a week, or we're gonna fall behind on our
it's
own
going to be a battle. Yeah,
personal war here. Yeah. So um yeah, let us know if you've seen any of them, if you're going to check out any of them, like what you thought, all that shit down below. Um, Follow us at Instagram at For Those with Good Taste, on Twitter at Good Taste Live, maybe TikTok at FTWGT, and then anywhere audio podcasts are provided. And with that being said, Dante, do you have anything you need to shout out? There it is. Okay, perfect, perfect. For the audio listeners, Dirty Water ENT is what he pointed at.
ah, yes.
Uh, Give him a follow on there. Go check out his list too, just as much as you check out mine, please.
Who's
You
to
tell
say
us
they
which one's
only check
better.
out yours?
Well, I'm just like in case they didn't see it. Yours is hard to get to, dude. I had to like go and find the link in our bio thing in our info.
They're both linked in there. Oh, you're
Yeah,
talking
but
about
people.
you couldn't just search it in Letterboxd?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
I don't know. But yeah, check those out. Go see whose list is better. I assume it's mine. And until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we bid you fale adieu. Peace. Bang, bang.
Skeet skeet.
For those with good taste.